Hi, I'm Nina Samuels, and apparently you have nothing better to do with your time, so you are listening to the Holy Shoot podcast.
Hello! Welcome to a new and improved Holy Shoot Wrestling podcast. This week, we'll be hosting the first of our new series, I Love the 2010s. And this week, we'll be listing our top 10, well, technically it's 11, matches of the last decade. Joining me on today's show is Sam.
Good evening, it's me. I'd like to announce I will not be exhibiting myself at E3 this year, and instead I'll be choosing to focus on exhibiting myself at hundreds of consumer events throughout the year.
Okay, no one understood that reference. And Chen.
Hello, people. How are you?
Yes.
Do you seriously not follow the video game news
Yeah,
at all?
PS5, PlayStation.
Yeah, good. Someone got it, but nobody laughed.
Well, you know, it wasn't that funny. Apparently, you know.
I thought
it
it was very funny when I came up with it. I thought it was funny, and so you know, sometimes you've got to do a joke for just you.
Well, you know, it's about the listeners. It's not yourself. You know, like
Sam. When you came up with that, did you say to yourself afterwards, "That's good shit"?
Yeah, mate. I did a little giggle and I rubbed my tummy on the tube, and I thought I'm going to say that on the podcast, and everyone's going to think it's really funny. And now look where we are.
Yeah,
I was so
on the
excited.
tube.
I gave myself a little belly rub. None of this is true, apart from coming up with the joke on the tube on the way home.
And the belly rub.
I just do that all the time anyway. It means nobody sits next to you.
Oh no, I'd sit next to you.
Well,
I sit next to you all the time.
It means strangers on the tube don't.
Oh, fair enough. You know, they just don't know you that well. I think if they get to know you better, they know that's just Sam.
They'd all want to sit next to me and rub my belly as well. Anyway, should we do a podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just go straight into it. So, before we start listing our overall top 10 rankings, I thought I should give a brief insight into how this is calculated. Basically, all 6 main contributors to this podcast, Jason, Chen, Sam, Mike, Chris, and myself, all listed our top 10 matches of the decade, with our top pick getting 10 points, the second pick getting 9 points, the third getting 8 points, and so on until our 10th pick gets 1 point. This is all tabulated, and the more points each match gets, the higher it is in our rankings. We also have a slight disclaimer and must acknowledge that in the 11 matches that are made our top 10, one is a joint pick, hence it's 11, we realised that there are no women's matches in the following top 10 matches. However, since we love to celebrate women's wrestling on this podcast, we thought we would do our own deep dive on the evolution of women's wrestling, not just in WWE, but elsewhere too, and we'll be releasing our own top 10 matches of the decade for women's wrestling later in the year. So, however, I am sure that you will agree that all these matches that come up on this list are 5-star classics with great stories and in-ring action. So sit back and enjoy our discussion of the top 10 matches of the 2010s. Joint 10th. Tetsuya Naito versus Kenny Omega at the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax Final in Tokyo, Japan on the 13th of August 2017. And AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship at New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 10 in Tokyo, Japan, 4th of January 2016. Dave Meltzer called the G1 tournament in 2017 the best he has ever seen, and with that came our joint 10th pick in Tetsuya Naito versus Kenny Omega. Naito defeated Omega in August 2017 in a near 40-minute classic, a rematch from the previous year's final. These two men were up there as the most popular stars in New Japan Pro Wrestling at the time. Naito wanting to rectify his push from 2013, Omega wanting Okada one last time. However, it would be Naito who went on to challenge Kazichuka Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 12 for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And in our other pick, This would be Nakamura and Styles' last match in New Japan Pro Wrestling and would be the first eye-opener of many to the New Japan product. It is a match that will forever stand the test of time, as Nakamura defeated Bullet Club's most successful leader, AJ Styles, to regain his Intercontinental Championship. Sadly, for these two guys, lightning was not captured in a bottle again between them and WWE. But for many fans of pro wrestling, this is a match that will live long in their hearts. Guys, what do you think of our controversial joint 10th picks? Let's start with you, Sam. You are the resident New Japan expert, along with Mike. Mike's not here today, sadly. So, Sam, let's start with you.
Wrestle Kingdom 10 is AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura are how I choose to remember AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. It's, I think, probably one of the best matches either man has ever had. I think it was one of the first New Japan matches I saw as well, because I looked it up after when they both got announced as coming to the WWE. Actually, that was pretty much what kind of got me started watching New Japan. Was them moving to a different company, hilariously. And yeah, that match was a particular banger. Same with the G1 from 2017. I mean, the G1 every year consistently delivers some of the best matches of the year. It's like the best 4 weeks of wrestling that happens probably for the whole year, or in my opinion anyway. And so, yeah, I didn't actually have that one in my top 10, but I do remember it being a great match. So it's definitely, not out of place on this list.
I remember both matches. In fact, Nakamura versus Styles was the first New Japan Pro Wrestling match I ever watched. And for similar reasons like you, WWE signed these two guys as well as Gallows and Anderson not long after. And that was seen like as a game-changing move for WWE to sign these 4 top New Japan guys and how it would affect New Japan and the Bullet Club roster. But I remember going and watch this match and I was like, holy moly, these two guys. I mean, I knew AJ Styles from TNA, and I knew he was incredible, but this was something else. This was a beautiful, hard-hitting affair. I think the right guy won because I think we all knew AJ Styles was out the door. But yeah, this was a great way to conclude that chapter of their careers.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the match, it's on YouTube. Just go and watch it and then be like, why isn't Shinsuke Nakamura like that now? I mean, obviously there's many reasons, but seeing that match and getting excited for him coming over and then the reality of him in the WWE, bit of a disappointment. In fact, you can see why everyone's so disappointed with Shinsuke Nakamura if you watch that Wrestle Kingdom 10 match, because he was incredible.
Yeah, he started to rein it in NXT and then in main roster WWE, and it's sad to see that decline. I think one of the matches was good on the main roster between those two guys, but yeah, nothing will compare to this technical masterpiece.
It's a match. It did what New Japan matches do so well, which is even if you know the result, still some of the near falls at the end of the match, you find yourself looking at your phone and being like, wait, I'm sure in the file name it said that AJ Styles won or whatever. You forget that you know what the result is and you're just completely absorbed in the match. This was really good for that.
Because I think AJ Styles was just like defined Bullet Club at the time, and you kind of like forget that Nakamura won that match, and it was like, at New Year's Dash day after, Kenny Omega comes out, becomes new leader of Bullet Club, and is the one to challenge Nakamura, and that match never happened. As far as I'm aware, I can't remember.
That would have been a match, though, eh?
Yeah, that would have been something else in New Japan, not in WWE, of course.
Yes, of course.
And yeah, Naito versus Omega. I was watching the highlights of this last night because I hadn't seen this match in a while. It completely slipped my mind. I believe this was Mike's top pick for the decade, and it is a phenomenal match, and I think it tells a brilliant story. Both wrestlers absolutely fantastic, and there's not really much more to say other than just go watch that match. It's definitely one of the best G1 matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, and watch the G1 just in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The G1 delivers year on year. Like, there's even if you can't watch all the matches, just find out what Dave Meltzer gave above 5 stars these days.
Yeah, he's normally good.
Yeah, a 5-star match is probably bad for the G1.
Yeah.
So,
It's just that's the standard, eh?
yeah, and I think this might have got slightly over 5 stars. I can't remember, but joking aside, Meltzer's right. This is fantastic, and yeah, this is one of the best G1s in recent memory, at least. Shall we move on to number 9?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cool. My keyboard just effed up. Oh well. Now we're all ready on to number 9. Number 9. Kazichuka Okada versus Kenny Omega for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion 6.11 or 6th of June, June the 11th, Osaka, Japan on 11th of June 2017. It is one of the greatest rematches in the history of professional wrestling. Coming off an instant classic at Wrestle Kingdom 11, Okada and Omega would battle out 5 months later to a 60-minute time limit draw. The story was simple. If Omega hits a one-winged angel, he would become champion. He did hit it. He failed. Okada's foot got to the rope, breaking the count. The last move would be Okada hitting the Rainmaker, but with the champ scrambling for the cover, the time limit was reached, and thus concluding the greatest draw in the history of pro wrestling, and leaving Kenny Omega without a win over what would become one of his most, if not most, famous opponent. So, Sam, again, back to the New Japan expert. Sorry, Chen, we will include you. I mean, I believe you put this on your list, right, Chen?
Oh, sorry. I was just sleeping. Okay. Call me when you need me. Okay.
We might need you in the next one.
I remember
You
this
didn't have
match,
this one.
though. But
Yeah, do you have this on your list?
I had the first match.
Fair enough.
Oh,
I couldn't remember which. There's 3 matches, like you know.
I hate to be that guy. Technically, there's 4, but the third one was a G1 tournament match, so it only had a
I know.
to the belt.
I know it's a quadrology, but you know the other one's kind of like the other one's kind of like Battle of Endor compared to the Star Wars original trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. The G1 match is like the Clone Wars in this trilogy, to use that kind of analogy, as in the cartoon series.
Don't compare this to the fucking prequels. That's what I said.
No, I thought that the Clone Wars cartoon. Oh, we're getting into Star Wars chat, but I thought the Clone Wars cartoon was supposed to be quite good. I never watched it though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's not relevant. Anyway.
Is it fair to say, lads, that this is the best draw of all time? As in the best match that ended in a draw?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that goes without question. You know, no one's going to say Cody versus Darby Allin.
No, I just remember because I didn't watch it live, seeing all my Twitter lighting up with people going, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but you have to watch this match, even though it ends in a draw. Like, it's the best draw that has ever happened.
Wait, so people ruined it for you?
Yeah, I had it spoiled for me, but it's a New Japan match, eh? So you can watch. Like, I still bit on all the near falls. When he hit the one-winged angel, I still thought he'd got it. Like I was saying to myself, I'm sure this ends in a draw. And then when Okada's foot touched the ropes, I nearly shat myself, just like... Nobody has ever kicked out of the one-winged angel. So the storyline going into that match was, if Kenny Omega can hit Okada with the one-winged angel, which he's never been able to do, then he's got the match won. Everyone saw the move go down, saw him go for the cover, and was like, this is it. Kenny's the new champion. But then no, we forgot about the rope break, the rules.
Yeah, at least one brand is consistent with the rules. Well,
I mean,
arguably. Arguably. I mean, was Red Shoes referee?
Yeah, exactly. The New Japan refs swing wildly between like intense about the rules and like, oh, you're getting a table out. That must be because you're going to do your homework during the match. Oh, you're putting your opponent on the table. Well, it's good that you're giving him a rest, and like, you know, and so on.
Oh, you accidentally fell through the table. Let's talk about this great match.
Yeah.
Not like the referee.
Sorry, yeah, not mocking New Japan referees.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, I think this was just excellent storytelling. I was a bigger fan of this match than their first match, in all honesty.
Really? I put their first match as my well, maybe we'll get to that later. But yeah, I was definitely a bigger fan of the first one. This was the lowest. This is Dominion 2017, yeah. So that's the lowest.
Yeah, controversially, I only put one of their matches in because I wanted to include more wrestlers. So,
Oh, fair.
and I think there's only one that defines that trilogy, in my opinion. But
Yeah, that's true. The others were incredible wrestling matches, but this is the one when people say or remember that, they always go, "Yeah, wasn't the middle one a draw?" This is the one that everyone's heard of.
I don't know. I think it's a
Mm.
tie. But I will say this, for a 60-minute match, every bit of it was very exciting. Like there was no boring parts within the match. I would say everything had me on the edge, and yeah, just Kenny's psychological story of just trying to get that one wing angel and the frustration he was showing on his face when he couldn't land it multiple times because Okada, he just countered it. I thought it was a great storytelling in the ring itself.
I like the fact that it starts off like it just all the matches build themselves up, and with like the character of Omega, he becomes, more reckless as he tries to hit more moves that could.
Yeah, more desperate.
Yeah, exactly. The desperation on that both men actually sell throughout this match, and you can tell right to the very end when Okada's scrambling to make the cover to define himself as the better man over Kenny Omega once and for all, even though he's already beaten Omega. He survived the Wild Wind Angel, but Omega. Sorry, Okada scrambling, showing that passion to get that pin and what it means to be IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And it ends. It just ends like it's a cliffhanger. You don't know. It shouldn't feel that way, but it does. But
Are you
it's
guys
fantastic
happy with
work.
that though?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Because he
was.
sets up.
I think so. I think this is a rare draw where nobody felt disappointed because it was
Yeah.
definitely not the end of the story.
It wasn't like the Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt, Hell in a Cell controversy.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's another way of just protecting wrestlers.
Keeping them both strong. Yeah.
Yeah, and it made sense within the story. So, if anyone did get upset by that, then quite frankly, they don't know anything about professional wrestling.
Or
Amen.
Shut
storytelling.
up.
Yeah.
Controversial. Shall we move on to number 8?
Yeah, I reckon.
What was that?
Did you hear a car beeping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounded like a clown
I
car.
think someone driving past in the road outside. I can't hear it because I've got noise cancelling headphones on.
Oh, okay.
You guys
So-
obviously
so-
can. Well, I'm
sounded
glad
like-
my mic's sensitive.
I like the fact that it sounded like a flute as well. So it's like, it's just like, wow, number 8's going to be majestic. Anyway, let's move on. Number 8. Johnny Gargano versus Tomasso Ciampa in a Chicago street fight. NXT TakeOver Chicago 2, Chicago, Illinois, United States, 16th of June, 2018. The first takeover in Chicago was main evented by Gargano and Ciampa as they lost to the Authors of Pain in a ladder match. This was history making for the boys that made their name in Chi-Town, until Ciampa delivered one of the most shocking heel turns in recent memory by assaulting Gargano just as that takeover was supposed to go off air. Fast forward to 2018. This was the second in a trilogy of matches that would redefine both men's careers as main eventers in what is undoubtedly one of the greatest rivalries in the history of pro wrestling. This rematch from New Orleans was more violent and brutal, with extreme spots galore and callbacks to both the heel turn and the Unsunction match from the prior takeover. It all ended up with a handcuffed Tomasso Ciampa somehow getting a dodgy win over Johnny Gargano after planting him with a DDT onto the exposed wooden panels of the ring, leading to the iconic Ciampa waving goodbye. Discuss.
First of all, was this the one where Chris attended, right?
No, that was New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay. I remember because the first one was so good. Like, it's like you said earlier about the Nakamura and AJ Styles. Like, lightning only struck once.
Yeah.
But these two, wow. Like, they can have like 10 matches and all 10 matches will be amazing. Like, and the way it was so innovative, I just remember thinking like this had to be the main event. Like, sometimes in my personal opinion that if you're the main title holder for the company, so the NXT champion, you should main event last. You should go on last. But
Yeah.
these two story was so amazing. The way they built up for like over a year, I was just like, yep, these guys deserve to go on last and close the show. And I was like, I can't wait to see the next part of this storytelling.
I absolutely agree. You know, I think the NXT Championship was like good at that time, but it was the show revolved around Gargano and Ciampa, and especially with Johnny Gargano, you know, every takeover match he's been in has been a near instant classic, and this trilogy of matches were no exception, and this Chicago Street Fight was no exception. It escalated so much from what was a hard-hitting affair in the unsanctioned match at New Orleans. This was delightfully, brutally violent. The amount of callbacks from the story that they've told, both at the original heel turn at the previous Chicago event, to what they did in New Orleans, to the build-up from TakeOver Philadelphia, which had that amazing Gargano versus Almas match, and to call all those spots back. This is fantastic. And I think this match gets overlooked over the unsanctioned match just because the heel won. If Gargano won again, I think it probably would have got more love, but because Ciampa won, it ended in silence. It was a deliberately controversial ending because Gargano made Ciampa tap out near the end, but the referee wasn't there.
I like it when that happens sometimes.
Yeah, it was kind of like an Attitude Era throwback, don't you think so?
Where people, they clearly really hate the heels, so you just get like proper silence. Everyone just wondering what happened.
Oh my god. The introduction for Ciampa this time, absolute silence, no music. It was just boos from the audience, and
that's why it
really
started,
hated him. Yeah,
his no entrance thing, right? That's when he started doing it, right?
No, he started around. No, I think he started the previous takeover. Yeah, he didn't get entrance music until like 4 months into his new heel run.
Okay.
So you mentioned about the original heel turn. Was that the one where they did that thing for the first time where they put the end of the show graphic on the screen and have like someone posing, but then something happens and they just keep the graphic up like, oh, this actually isn't supposed to be happening at all? Because that's fucking cool. So if this gave us that, then it's definitely good.
I watched this. I watched the TakeOver Chicago 1 main event. Just live, just on the network, and I remember the logo going up, and I was thinking to myself, but Ciampa's going to turn heel. I was like, maybe not. About to put my laptop down, and then I see the fucking heel turn, and I'm like, just shook, and absolute silence. My mouth just, I don't think my jaw dropped, because I absolutely love DIY, and I thought, okay, maybe they're just getting called to the main roster. And they're not telling the story, but my jaw just absolutely hit the floor. I think it's the first time that happened since Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker. That's how much that heel turn meant for me, because it was like the first tag team in a long time I fell in love with, that and the Revival. So it was like, what? This was like my Rockers moment. So like a year later, when
tag team breakup that matters or means something.
Yeah. So
and it's funny because I remember when they were as a tag team, I just always thought they were just going to be tag team like mid carders for the rest of their career in WWE. But that betrayal pushed them both into the main event itself and made them seen as main event stars.
Yeah. It definitely did. I know they main evented first day with Chicago, but I think.
But as a tag team, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just for the shock ending. Otherwise, it would have been. I think it would have been Bobby Roode versus Hideo Itami.
Wow.
That's a good match. Do not mock. Like,
that was a good match.
You'd be surprised how really good it is. No,
when you say Hideo Itami, I just think shit Kenta.
Kenta Hideo Itami had some really good matches at NXT. It's just a shame that he was pretty much injury prone.
Yeah,
he Nakamura'd it once he got on the main roster too.
Yeah, I mean his match with Bobby Roode is probably his best match in NXT.
And his match with Aleister Black. If you haven't seen that, go and check that out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was good. Oh, if you like a Bobby Roode match, you like his match with Kota Ibushi.
Bobby Roode versus Kota Ibushi.
Yep, it was Ibushi's only appearance on NXT.
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, was that when he was doing the Cruiserweight Classic?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Anyway, none of this is relevant to the listener.
Yeah,
But,
we're getting sidetracked a bit now.
yeah, but Gargano versus Ciampa, undoubtedly one of the best rivalries in recent memory, and a well-deserved spot on this list. Let's move on to number 7, shall we?
Yes,
Thank you, Sam.
that's okay.
Number 7. Adam Cole versus EC3 versus Killian Dane versus Lars Sullivan versus Ricochet versus the Velveteen Dream in a 6-man ladder match for the NXT North American Championship. NXT TakeOver New Orleans, Louisiana, United States on the 8th of April, 2018. 6 men, 2 NXT debutants, 1 brand new NXT Championship, and many, many ladders. Stories are not really necessary for ladder matches. Only chaos is required. And what these 6 men did not only rivaled, but arguably exceeded the violent mastery of the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian in their TLC days. It was so great, even Dave Meltzer awarded this 5 stars, the first ladder match in history to be given the acclaim. The leader of the Undisputed Era would eventually triumph, becoming the first North American champion, but not without the other 5 men having their chance to shine too. Oh, and Mauro Ranallo was so good on commentary during this match, WWE decided to release the commentary camera footage. That's how shocking and brilliant and violent this match was. Who else loves this ladder match?
I can't believe I forgot to put it in my list.
I loved it, but I'm surprised it made the top 10.
Yeah, it wasn't in my list either, but there's such a diverse array of matches, but both Jason and Chris ranked in their top 5 matches of the decade. But undoubtedly, I'm going to put my cards on the table here and say this is the best ladder match in the history of professional wrestling. Better than any of those TLC matches, as innovative as they were at the time. This ladder match is incredible. It shows everyone off. It made new stars out of Ricochet and EC3. EC3, not known for his wrestling, was selling like an absolute champ. Killian Dane and Lars Sullivan looked like absolute brutes. Velveteen Dream, always a star, always gets to show off. And the right man won in Adam Cole. Like, this was ladder match perfection for me.
I probably wouldn't disagree. And if I remember rightly, they didn't do the what made it nice and refreshing was that when Adam Cole won the belt, he just climbed the ladder and took it down. There was none of that
slow climbing.
Oh, how do I climb the ladder? Oh, is it gonna hold? I hate that stuff. It's like, well, mate, you've just smashed that guy in the head through like 5 chairs or whatever. Just hop up the ladder. I don't care how tired you are. You're a professional wrestler. Come on.
Wow. I mean, I think this ladder match lasted somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. It was absolutely insane. But yeah,
a long time for the WWE.
Yeah,
it was like half an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, NXT takeovers. I mean, they give the wrestlers time to develop the stories in the ring, and they really needed to show off 6 men here. I've always felt that as good as NXT takeovers are, when it comes to like multi-man matches, I've never felt that they fully delivered, and this was the first one. Apart from War Games, I take that back.
I was about to say.
That first War Games match was incredible, but this was next level brutality. I can't really sing higher praises than that, and it made me regret not going to that year's WrestleMania just for this ladder match alone.
It's funny that you should mention War Games, because I thought that was what this was going to be when you were introing it, and you mentioned Killian Dane, or as I and any BritRest person will know him as, Big Damo. I will not call him Killian Dane. He will always be Big Damo to me. So I thought this was going to be War Games, but it wasn't. I was quite surprised about that.
Yeah,
I will say this: every single participant pulled their weight in this match. Everyone had like a great spot. I remember even being impressed with Lars Sullivan in a ladder match. You know, you think, he's just going to be the big guy that doesn't really do anything, but like, well, he was really awesome. That was the first time and probably the only time I've ever been impressed with a Lars Sullivan match myself. But I thought it was great because they mixed heavy wrestlers with high flyers in this ladder match, and I thought, wow, that's a really great mix that they had right there, and a great pool of NXT talent who will come up in the future.
Yeah, it was a really good balance of kind of big brawler type guys and people like Ricochet. Wasn't this like the first? Was this the first takeover that Ricochet was on?
Yes,
It's definitely the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
one I
yeah.
it was
remember
his
getting really
debut.
excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Takeover.
this was the first NXT matches for Ricochet and EC3, if you exclude all that Derek Bateman stuff. So yeah, this is their first matches on
Oh,
NXT television.
Oh, so actually Ricochet hadn't had any matches before.
No,
on NXT TV.
they wanted to show him off as this.
And what a way to show him off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
fair.
like the anticipation was high because everyone knows that he's a human highlight reel. He's, as Mauro Ranallo described him, the gift that keeps on giving. I think.
Yeah,
Which is just the best.
Speaking of Mauro Ranallo,
yeah,
I remember he made a reference about Infinity War in this match, and I've got it up. I'll say it right now. He said, "This is the NXT version of the Infinity War, but it isn't about 6 Infinity Stones. It's about 6 superstars with the stones to go through hell and create history."
bloody love him.
Yeah.
What an intro.
He's just the best. I mean, selfishly, I really want an NXT title match at WrestleMania this year, just so you can call a WrestleMania match.
Yeah, it was sad he didn't get to do Survivor Series last year.
Yeah.
Sad JBL's such a shit, really, but there we go.
Corey Graves.
Corey Graves is tired.
Oh, sorry. Well, they're both shits, so I do
Yeah,
not retract my
yeah.
statement and instead double down on saying Corey Graves is a shit as well.
Yeah. Hey,
Anyway.
JBL, Corey Graves, if you're listening. Sorry, fellas.
You're a
Sam
couple of-
hates you.
I can't say the word I want to say about you. It's the one word we don't say on this podcast. You can imagine what it is, so that's what I'm calling you. Now you can have that in your head.
Farage?
No, I mean, people have called Farage the word I'm thinking of.
Is
No,
it
it
a C
begins
word?
with C.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I
Chen
know.
gets it.
Courage?
Yes.
Okay. Shall we move on to number 6?
Yep.
Cool. Number 6. Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate for the WWE United Kingdom Championship, NXT TakeOver Chicago, Chicago, Illinois, United States, 20th of May, 2017. The United Kingdom Championship tournament in Blackpool was shrouded with controversy. WWE's entry into the UK market was one that was not welcomed by some fans. However, the actual championship's legacy would be kick-started this night, and in all places, America. Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, 2 boys from the West Midlands having their rematch from the tournament in one of the biggest arenas in the United States, a country that is only known for chanting USA. This night of all nights would change that. For the first time on WWE screens, we would hear the chants of UK. America fell in love with what we already knew over here, and that was British strong-style wrestling. Pete Dunne would beat Tyler Bate in a 15-minute classic that was flawless in execution and would kickstart one of the longest title reigns in WWE history, surpassing recent greats like Brock Lesnar and CM Punk. Whether you love or hate NXT UK, this is a night where British wrestling truly became a global sensation in the industry. Would anyone like to lead the discussion?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Sorry,
I will
we were.
start.
I couldn't tell if you were pausing for effect or if you were like
Yeah.
waiting for us to talk.
Be more clear, Brod, okay? All right, I'll go first.
You go first, Chen.
So, where was I when I was watching this match? I was in Hawaii. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thanks for letting us know that.
Okay.
I bet did that affect your opinion of the match at all?
Yes, it did. Because even though I was in a tropical island, I really wanted to watch this takeover, and I really wanted to watch it specifically for this match.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
because one, I've seen Pete Dunne on Rev Pro, and
Okay.
I was he was like when it came to British wrestlers, he was the one I had my eye on pretty much when I got introduced to British wrestling. So I also wanted to see how the USA audience, how they warm up to this type of match. Like, would this be their toilet break, or would they sit down and watch it? And obviously, like, what they got was they didn't know what the story for this whole match was, but they got an entertaining match. I thought that was the match of the night. Like, I was just thinking, like, wow, these two have a big future ahead of them in the WWE if the way the crowd is chanting. And I was like, Pete Dunne is going to be one hell of a heel in this match. And not in this match, in this company as well.
Yeah, I think more people were following the build to this than you may maybe thought, because it's the UK match on a US show. Because this was before the NXT UK brand had started, so they didn't have weekly TV, which meant all of Pete Dunne's appearances for the WWE had either been in the United Kingdom tournament, which I think did pretty well, or on NXT TV. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I think WCPW were around at the time, and whilst it wasn't massive, like, it did have like quite a significant audience, mainly because What Culture Wrestling was a huge hit on YouTube.
Yeah, indeed.
Like, it was a reason why many fans got back into wrestling, surprisingly.
Me, I'm one of those people.
Yeah, Adam Blampier and all that were great. I mean, I do like Coldaholic, but I kind of miss the What Culture days. But yeah, they did some great content. But that got a lot of people back into UK wrestling, and it did feature guys like Pete Dunne on it.
In fact, the first indie show I went to was WCPW in Altrincham, True Destiny. The main event was Kurt Angle versus Cody Rhodes. So that should tell you how long
you were at that event. Oh.
I was at that event.
Didn't they have a theme tune like Destiny or something?
Yeah,
like
this is my destiny.
It's great.
It was gloriously cheesy. But yeah, that event had hilariously both men from this match in it. It had Tyler Bate, not Volta. What am I talking about? It had Tyler Bate in a tag team with Trent Seven against some lads whose names I can't remember. One of them looked like a smaller man who had kind of eaten his way out of the chest of a larger man. But I can't remember what his name is. He was like a square boy. And then I saw Pete Dunne versus some jobber. I can't remember who.
Oh.
And yeah, Pete Dunne was obviously a star. And this match was him showing the world that he is a top lad.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really give to. I don't like tournaments, so I didn't watch the UK Championship tournament, to my shame.
I just watched the final. That's all I did.
I actually didn't watch it either.
Yeah, so I didn't really care. So for me, I didn't care about this match at all coming in. I had no particular investment in it. This was like, it'll be like a throwaway exhibition match. That's going to be good, but it's not going to be like outstanding. And I was surprised. Like, it was just some of the most. Like, I mean, I never cared much for the British indie scene up until that point either. So,
and I think majority of the fans didn't care about the UK title as well, NXT title.
Yeah, and I think this changed the complete game of both that championship, and I think it elevated British wrestling to an even higher standard.
For me, the tournament and this match and the WWE Championship, when they started out, were like a sign of something great, and over time, they became, for me, a signal that the good times are over. And all of the indie feds that you remember, and in fact one that we mentioned, WCPW Defiant, shutting down in the last 12 months, that should probably be a fairly big indicator that NXT UK is succeeding in what it was supposed to do, which is kill the British indie scene and make it so that the WWE is the only game in town.
These are the words of Sam. I have no problem with WWE and their business.
I want to join the Empire. Shut up, Sam.
Man, progress could have been so good, and now it's just not.
Progress is good. I disagree. Like, I'm
Sam, if you're gonna blame anyone, blame the wrestlers.
Like, Rev Pro succeeds without WWE talent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, at the end of the day, it's business.
And it's up to
I mean,
the
I
wrestlers,
understand all
you
these
know?
things, and yeah, obviously it's everyone's dream to work for the WWE and all this stuff. But like, I don't know, Progress at Wembley was like that's as big as that company will ever get now. Whereas if they'd kept going at the momentum that they had, then who knows what we could have what we could have had on our televisions. Something that was really ours and not like kind of a watered down WWE version of what Progress was.
I think many people in this country that are familiar with wrestling imagine either Stone Cold, and The Rock, or oh god, World of Sport. I was struggling to think of the title, and remember the good old
That's
days of
it.
that.
That's it.
And that's like PG Hogan-esque type wrestling that we don't want to see as fans, and I don't think the Great British public care too much for. So because it's so far long ago. So would Progress be the answer in the long run? I don't think so. I don't know. It's too hard to say what.
And some of these
could have been.
companies, they don't run financially well. I
Yeah,
could say as well.
like for instance, ECW was great, but Paul Heyman was a bad business guy.
Oh yeah, I mean Paul Heyman just shat money away.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting sidetracked here, and anyway, and
because
this
of
actually
you,
sounds like
okay?
perhaps, yeah, it was my fault, but I'm bringing it back on track now, and I was going to say perhaps this is maybe a future episode for us to have a longer form discussion about UK indies or the state of the UK indies. But
I think you're right to bring it up, Sam, though, because it is this was a momentous match for UK wrestling to be featured on a top American show.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
The impact of that. And, me and Jen are the side of positivity. You're on the side of, actually, I think it's been destructive for the UK scene. And I don't think both are. I don't think either one of those opinions is actually invalid.
No, I actually agree with that kind of what's the right word? Summing up of our positions.
Yeah.
What I would say is at the time I was super excited for this match and the UK Championship, but that was because Triple H had come out in the press and made those statements being like, we don't want to interfere with the UK scene, and all the people you want to see you'll still be able to see. And then it wasn't for like another year that they came out with the exclusive contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just business. It's just business. But
they didn't even let Joseph Connors go back and drop the belt properly on WCPW television.
It's just business,
man.
It's just business. But anyways, I just want to say, like, after this match, you see Pete Dunne featured a lot more on NXT. Like, he's, NXT is the main show of all the NXTs they're going to create in the future. And you do see Pete Dunne always featured more now. And it makes me happy to see that he might get a big push if he gets into the main roster. But he's featured heavily on NXT right now.
He's like the only UK guy that ever has been, really, isn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, isn't Tony Storm? No.
Yeah, Tony Storm's moving up. I know they're Australian, but they're massive parts of the UK scene. Rhea Ripley, the first. I know she wasn't, but she's she's now the NXT Women's Champion, and she was part of that NXT UK lot.
And Walter, they had the Walter match.
Volta's featured. Tyler Bate is featured. I mean, Tyler Bate and Trent Seven are former NXT Tag Team Champion.
Yeah.
So that's.
That match opened the doors to more eyes about the talent in NXT UK, in my opinion.
So they went from Wembley Stadium to developmental for development.
Wembley Arena.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Wembley Arena. Sorry, no. It is important to be clear because there's
sometimes
very,
you have to take
capacity.
Sam. Sometimes you have to take one step back to move 2 steps forward. Remember that.
All right.
For your own career.
Okay, Mr. Miyagi.
Well, I mean, we don't really know what's there at the Performance Center, so like the benefits of it. So, excuse me.
I've seen pictures. They got rings. They got elliptical trainers. I've seen that. Charlotte Flair comes there sometimes.
Woo!
Finn Balor, he goes there and he says, "How's it going?" And then he leaves. That was my Irish accent. It wasn't good, but I had to go.
Yeah.
Finn Balor was on NXT UK takeover. Yeah, just remember that.
The first one in Blackpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, as we're getting sidetracked, let's not distract from the fact that this was an absolutely great match.
Yes,
Shall we
yes,
just move
yes.
on to number 5?
Don't let my
Something-
cynicism ruin your potential for watching this match. Go and watch it anyway. It's still great.
Sam, maybe you should have watched this in Hawaii like I did. You might
Maybe
have
I
a
should have
different
watched it in
experience.
Hawaii. Then I would have been full of hope for the British scene. Yeah.
in America, just like the match. All right, number 5. Number 5. The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in a career versus streak match. WWE WrestleMania 26 in Glendale, Arizona, the United States, at 28th of March, 2010. In the past 10 years, there has been much debate about which Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels WrestleMania encounter was better, WrestleMania 25 or 26. But whatever the argument, there is no doubt in the greatness of the match. However, there is also no doubt that this match had the better story. It was about the greatest legacy in the history of professional wrestling, the streak. And it was also about one of the greatest careers in the history of professional wrestling, the guy known as Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels. And one was going to come to an end. In this match, we witnessed multiple submissions, spots, signatures, and finishes. But unfortunately for the Heartbreak Kid, after one last defiant slap, Undertaker hits him with the third tombstone piledriver of the match, and the streak lived on. Shawn's career did not. For a career that was supposed to end in the late 90s, we were all blessed with an extra decade of extraordinary performances from Mr. Michaels, from his unsanctioned match in 2002 with Triple H up until this very last match with The Undertaker. We're not counting Saudi Arabia, of course, guys. So what do we all make of Shawn Michaels' retirement match?
I just want to say, well done, Brod, the way you just explained and introduced this match.
Mhm.
I will say
Thank you.
this. In my opinion, their first match was the better match.
Yeah.
Because the second match obviously is predictable, the result wise. But I will say you're right. The storytelling for this match, it was a year storytelling for this match for this rematch to happen. Like, if I remember correctly, at the time, Shawn Michaels, I remember it was an elimination chamber match and everything, and like he appeared from the bottom and super kicked whoever and let Undertaker to let Jericho
Yeah.
win the title off him, and like how he was just having a whole year obsessed with the Undertaker, basically.
Yeah, so I remember this was
It started at the Slammy Awards, if I remember, because he got Match of the Year, right?
match of the year and he lost. So that
And
was
then
like
he
December
said,
2009.
yeah, and then he said, Undertaker, let's have one more, whatever, isn't it?
Yeah, and Undertaker said no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't remember much in terms of the build, maybe because I was zoning out of my at this point. But yeah, you're right. I believe it started at the Slammy Awards, and then Shawn Michaels, because he was turned down, he thought his only way to get into a rematch with the Undertaker at WrestleMania, would to win the Royal Rumble, because Undertaker was World Heavyweight Champion at the time, and then obviously Shawn Michaels gets eliminated,
And he
and
starts
then
snapping, yeah.
and then that brings us to the Elimination Chamber, where Shawn comes out of the grate, super kicks Undertaker, and Jericho would win the World Heavyweight title, thus prompted Undertaker to challenge him for a match, which would ultimately cost Shawn's career. I think it was a brilliantly told story. I will say this, though, Chen, I agree with you. WrestleMania 25 was the better of the two matches in terms of a technical sense. But my God, and you're also right to touch about the predictability as well. But yeah, I just remember at home watching this, I was just thinking, it's inevitable, just like Thanos. It's inevitable that the Undertaker will win. But my God, I really, really wanted Shawn to win that match. I was like, he was one of my favorite wrestlers, and not to see him wrestle in his entire career was just, for me, it's still gut punching.
And
Yeah.
I just want to point out what you said, that how he came back from a back injury after being like
Mm.
4 years away, and then having like a wrestling for almost another decade,
Yeah.
and still being pretty much, in a way you could say, still the same Shawn Michaels when he came back for a second run.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, I didn't know until later on when I first started watching that he was out of action for 4 years. I didn't know any of that, and
And
to come back and be and probably put on the best matches of his career. It's not like it's not like where Triple H returned from his quad injury and he reined it in a tiny bit because he wasn't the same guy in the Attitude Era, or when other athletes have to rein it in because they can't do the same things or else they damage their body further. Shawn, he could go like no one else. Like in these two matches with The Undertaker, to the rivalry of Triple H and his DX matches, the guy
he
was
won the first
absolutely
ever
incredible.
Elimination Chamber match.
Yeah. I know this is like a Shawn Michaels career retrospect in some ways, but yeah, I mean, terrific match to sum up a terrific career. What about you, Sam? What do you feel about this match?
So people have talked about it in lists and things, and it sounds great. But I took a big break from watching wrestling from about 2001 to about 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So all of my matches in this list are all from the second half of the decade.
So is that your roundabout way of saying you haven't seen?
I haven't seen this match. No,
It's
I've just heard.
not-
I've heard people talking about it.
Hold up.
Um,
You said you came back to wrestling and you hear people talk about this match. Did you never occur to you to go and actually check it out?
Mate, there's like 15 years of wrestling
Yeah, but if
between.
multiple people you said have this on their list as one of their favorite matches, then you should be like, oh, maybe I should check this out. Everyone keeps going on about it.
Nah.
to be fair, I will say this. We're having a conversation last night. Me, us three, and just a few other members of the pod. And like Mike just said, so you haven't seen like Brett versus Shawn from WrestleMania 13, and I'm like, no. It's like, why? I just don't care for history. So I kind of get that, but at the same time, I should really watch that match. So I'll make a pact with you, Sam. I'll go watch that WrestleMania 13 match between Bret Hart and Steve Austin if you go watch this match 13 years on, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels.
Because it is Shawn Michaels' retirement match. Remember that.
Yeah, we're not counting Saudi Arabia. That never happened.
Okay.
I was going to say, it Saudi Arabia is not. It's like alternative universe wrestling. It's like everyone's got a mustache and talks with a funny accent.
Yeah,
and
pretty much. That's the flashpoint. That's the flashpoint.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'll agree to that pact to going back and watching this match. Can you remember who was on commentary? Who have I got put up with?
Oh, it was Jim Ross.
Yeah,
it was Jim Ross. It was definitely Jim Ross because Undertaker requested. I think Undertaker requested Jim Ross around this time. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was. It was. I'm pretty sure it might be Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because good and bad.
Jerry's good when he wants to be. It's a serious match, but yeah, I think it was a request because at the time it was Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler in commentary for Raw, but I'm pretty sure it was Jim Ross.
And Sam, we're on the road to WrestleMania, so it's a perfect time to catch up with these great WrestleMania matches.
Oh yeah,
Let's all go around to Mike's and watch every single WrestleMania with him.
We'll go and point at some signs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not entitled to point the sign this year because I'm not going.
I've just looked it up on Wikipedia. It is Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and Jim Ross. So I reckon I could just about put up with that.
Oh my days! It doesn't matter. Like this is like one.
Just watch the bloody match.
Yeah, it's a great match. It's Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. It's one of Undertaker's last great matches. It's Shawn Michaels' last great match. Just do me the favor, pal. Like I'm not asking if it's Vince McMahon on commentary for Brett and Shawn. I hope it is. I bloody love.
Do me a favor.
It's
Watch the first.
No.
Hold up. Watch the first match. I watch the second as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think like out of context, you might prefer 25. Like I absolutely adore 25. That's my. That's my top 10 favorite.
But that happened in 2009, right?
Yeah.
So we can't.
Fun fact for you: Mike put that in his top 10 originally.
The dumb idiot. The stupid idiot.
I think he put this match in as well, but I was like, Mike, that's in 2009. It's like, oh, okay.
I might watch this whole show, WrestleMania 25. I'm looking at the Wikipedia now. Kid Rock performed a live medley of the songs Bar With Dubba, Rock and Roll Jesus, Cowboy all summer long, and So Hot. Fucking hell, lads.
It was 10
That's
minutes.
That's a draw, innit?
That was horrible. Literally only watched Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. The rest was a bit. Actually, no.
Oh, yeah.
Steamboat's appearance was amazing.
Who main evented at WrestleMania?
Triple H and Randy Orton.
Oh boy!
Oh, yeah,
I like the sound of this women's battle royale as well. Whoa.
I mean, that was peak Randy Orton. It was also not a great match.
Yeah, but that's an example of sometimes the title shouldn't main event. You know.
Yeah, that Undertaker, Shawn Michaels should have main evented. It was.
Yeah, but I don't think. But they had no story for that match either. Yeah.
True, but the greatest match of all time.
Sam, watch the bloody match.
Yeah.
Okay.
If Undertaker, Shawn Michaels is a 25 is the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, then I'm going to say this is the second greatest WrestleMania match of all time.
Okay.
That's how I
even better than Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton from whenever that was with the big sperm snake.
Oh my goodness! Oh.
Bray Wyatt having control of the projectors. Anyway, we're getting
right now. This is sacrilege.
Sorry. Yes, yeah. I shouldn't be mentioning that match on this show.
Yeah, I mean, me and Chen could have just talked for 5 minutes extra about the beauty of this match, but you kind of ruined it. So thanks, Sam. Thank you.
Sorry, you invited me to speak.
I thought you'd seen the match.
Sorry, everyone.
Like one match from that. Oh, please tell me. Oh no,
I'm not.
I just thought what's coming up. Oh boy. Okay, right. This is more up your alley. Number four. Kazichuka Okada versus Kenny Omega for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 11, Tokyo, Japan, 4th of January 2017. If Styles versus Nakamura first got American eyes interested in Japan's top promotion, this match secured a new and eager fan base. This was a match that redefined what wrestling could be, and this was a match to get then near unprecedented 6 stars. It was 46 minutes and 45 seconds of pure wrestling perfection. 1 year after Omega became the new leader of Bullet Club and declared himself as a heavyweight, he found himself main eventing the promotion's biggest show of the year, and this was after shocking the world by defeating Tetsuya Naito in the finals of the G1 Climax in 2016. Unfortunately for Omega, he would be facing Okada during a historic title reign that would also redefine the legacy of the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. The two men put on a clinic with only one move not hit in the entire match. Omega's one-winged angel, a move that nobody has kicked out of, but a move too elaborate to set up. It took a second Rainmaker in order for Okada to retain the championship that evening. Afterwards, Omega called him the best wrestler in the world, but for Omega, he would soon become the best bout machine. Guys, what do you think of the first Okada versus Omega match? I know we did a bit of a deep dive, but let's talk about this Wrestle Kingdom 11 match. Sam, let's start with you because this was obviously in your list, and
this was number 1 on my list.
Yeah, this was number 1. Why was it your number 1?
Because, quite simply, it is probably the most perfect wrestling match I've ever seen. It has everything. Surprise spots. It goes for ages. It had an incredible kind of storyline build with Kenny's rise from the junior division and the ranks of Bullet Club into being the leader of Bullet Club and the company's kind of top gaijin heavyweight. Gaijin means foreigner in Japanese for people who do not know. And then in the match itself had all kinds of bananas spots. At one point, Okada gets a table out, which is like completely out of the ordinary for him, and it really sold how badly he wanted to win the match, but on top of that, how seriously he was taking Kenny as a potential competitor or even a threat to his title. And then the fact that Kenny kicked out of one of the Rainmakers, I believe that is a big deal as well, because in New Japan people don't usually kick out of each other's finishes. So it kind of, this match put New Japan on the map really in the West. I feel like in a lot of people's eyes as well. It was the first really, really high profile match that Kenny Omega had. He obviously knew it, and he came out, going gangbusters in this. Really delivered on the day, as he usually does.
Yeah, so for me, like, I knew about New Japan at this point because of the Styles Nakamura match, and I thought that was phenomenal. But this, like, completely blew my mind of what wrestling could be. I didn't know really. I mean, I barely knew who Okada was. I barely knew who Kenny Omega was at this point. I only really focused on professional wrestling, like, more intensely, probably after this match, to be honest. And I would say thanks to just because the stuff in this match is incredible. Yeah, I didn't put this on my list. You'll know why in a bit. Spoiler alert. But yeah, this is a phenomenal match. I only really wanted to put one match of this trilogy on just so I can get other wrestlers on board, as I said earlier. But undoubtedly, yeah, this deserves to be in the top 10 for sure. And I can't think. I can't say any higher words. Chen, what about you?
No, indeed.
So, just a bit of background. I got back into wrestling at 2012. When did this match happen again? 2000.
It's 2017.
Yeah, so 2017, beginning like 4 months before 2000, before this match, I attended a WWL event called Belushi's, and that's where people will talk. You meet like-minded people. If you guys haven't been, please come down. It's at London. We'll be hosting the Royal Rumble this month.
Yep, Belushi's London Bridge on the Monday after the Royal Rumble. You can find it on meetup.com. Just type in WWL or
Watch Wrestling London. Watch Wrestling.London. Watch Wrestling.London. That's the domain name. Go there. Watch Wrestling.London.
Cool.
So what I like about this is like you meet other wrestling fans, and we just trade about what's our favorite wrestling matches that we should watch and everything. Hence, people told Sam to watch HBK versus Undertaker 2. He hasn't got onto it, but you get
It's a long time ago.
Now, I remember when I was at this Royal Rumble for 2017, people kept going on about Kenny Omega and Okada, and I was like, who are these people? New Japan. I've never actually heard of this promotion or watched anything about it. Wait, who's Dave Meltzer? What is this 6 stars rating or whatever? And people kept going on and on about it. And then after the Royal Rumble, like the following day, people comparing Okada versus Omega to AJ Styles versus Cena. And because what was more important, what was so interesting about the Okada, people talking about Okada and Omega, it was January and people were saying it was already match of the year. So I was like, whoa, how amazing is this match? So I went home, I checked it out. I don't know any of these wrestlers' names or what they stand for, but my mind was blown. I was like, wow, this is what wrestling has come to now. It is amazing, fast paced, athletic, the psychology telling. I was like, who is this kid? Now I get why people going on about how amazing this match is. Oh, New Japan, let me check out more of the talents they have. Like it opened my eyes about the wrestling world outside WWE. It also made me interested in checking out other talents outside of WWE. And not only that, it made me a fan of a new promotion.
Absolutely. I mean, I just thought of a really rubbish analogy, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, watching what WWE is like main roster typically, not all the time, but it's like watching a Jackie Chan film, or it's disposable action, friendly action, and it's good fun. And then you watch The Raid. And for me, Okada versus Omega was like The Raid. It's like just action-packed, action-heavy, like incredible shit that I've never seen before in that sort of film, in that sort of action film. And it's just, for me, watching this match was next level. Like, I thought Styles versus Nakamura was mind-blowing, and then I watched this match, and then I was like, wow, I'm wholly invested into a new promotion.
Yeah, and
trying to catch whatever I can.
Exactly. I think that was the turning point in me watching wrestling, where I said, I don't need to know the story about why these two are fighting or whatever. I can
Mhm.
enjoy wrestling as a wrestling. I can enjoy more of the psychology of wrestling. I don't need to know who's the heel, who's the face. I can just watch wrestling. It just made me watch wrestling in a whole new perspective. Put it this way.
That's interesting. Sam, you mentioned the story earlier. What was the story
Yes.
build going into it? Because me and Chen, essentially New Japan versions at that point.
I mean, I
The
wouldn't
more
say I was.
experienced person. Well,
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
more experienced than us two at that point.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I hadn't. This was really what made me start following New Japan really, really closely. I think was this match, as I think it was basically the beginning of New Japan's expansion into the West. But the storyline build, I believe, was I can't remember why they ended up having the match. Like what?
Omega won the G1.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it was a G1 victory. I couldn't remember because that
Yeah.
G1 was his breakout G1 as the top leader of Bullet Club.
Yeah, so
Um,
basically, he became, because I watched some docs on the Bullet Club. If you ever go onto New Japan's Pro Wrestling's English channel, watch the recount. It
Yeah,
gives
it's
you
really good.
basically great insight into some of the greatest matches and storylines in New Japan history. But yeah, so Omega became leader of the new Bullet Club, kicking out AJ Styles at New Year's Dash in 2016. And then, he also declared himself a heavyweight. And a few months later, he got a shock victory over Tetsuya Naito in the G1 Climax final that year. And and thus set up him versus Okada. So
Sam, this was your number one pick.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
Same with me.
I
It
was.
was the same
Oh,
with me.
oh, nice. Yeah, cool. So I was just going to say, yeah, it was the in the storyline build. He dropped the junior title the night before at Wrestle Kingdom 10. So to go from like mid card dropping the junior heavyweight title to main eventing the heavyweight division in a year is it's surprising that New Japan didn't get more behind Kenny Omega, to be honest.
But I think it's because that's when AJ Styles left, right?
Yeah,
When the day, yeah. Um,
yeah,
and I
I
just want to
wouldn't know.
say that Okada match is the that match as well. Like, it just didn't open my eyes to New Japan, but it also made me start watching ROH a bit, TNA. It introduced me obviously to the Bullet Club, and I could say like since then I've been following the Bullet Club. And just to see the growth of Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, what they've gone to achieve now. It's like I was on a personal journey with them, especially.
Yeah, I think like the Bullet Club has really elevated a lot of Western people, in particular, to new audiences, and I
Yeah,
think it's like cool merchandise,
like the
cool
yeah,
NWO.
promos.
Yeah.
People wear Bullet Club t-shirts and they know what it is, and they don't really think about it. But yeah, you had guys, and the success was really after it stars. You had Kenny Omega, you had Cody, you had Adam Cole, the Young Bucks, as you mentioned. Even guys like Marty Scurll, they're making more money. Just
Hangman Page, yeah.
Hangman Page, yeah, that's another. Like, it's a who's who of professional wrestling outside of WWE. So yeah, and Omega was the pinnacle of Bullet Club.
yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Their biggest era. They were making noises before that, I think, but it was this match and this era of Bullet Club that really made them go stratospheric. And
Yeah.
also having a cool as fuck t-shirt, like that was the biggest one. Whichever
Yeah.
graphic designer designed that first Bone Soldier t-shirt should
Yeah.
win some kind of award, some kind of wrestling award, because
Yeah.
that made that stable.
The original Bullet Club t-shirt, by the way, is a bit boring. It's not bad, but it's a bit boring by comparison.
Oh, is it? I didn't realize they had one before the Bone Soldier one.
It's on the Rev Pro store, I believe. I'm not sure if it's still there, but yeah. But the Bone Soldier is actually his second theme of sorts that came in when Styles was leader. Anyway, that's a little offshoot about Okada. About Bullet Club. Anything else about Okada versus Omega before we move on?
No, I'm happy to move on, I think. We talked about it quite a lot. Is the third match in this list? I know that's a spoiler, or shall we wait? I just wanted to shout it out as being another great match. If we're not going to talk about it later,
It might be in the honourable mentions we mentioned after.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay.
So,
I just want to say before we move, that's the first seeing Okada for the first time in that match. I was like, I've never seen a beautiful drop kick in my life.
Oh yeah, that
It's
is
the
drop
best.
kick. Spinning tombstone as well. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, that guy's better than Undertaker, and I love the Undertaker. I'll never say that to his face though. Anyway, shall we move on to number 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Number 3, Kazichuka Okada versus Kenny Omega in a 2 out of 3 IWGP. Don't fucking ruin it! I have to re-record this now.
Go again.
Number 3, Kazichuka Okada versus Kenny Omega in a 2 out of 3 for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at New Japan Dominion, 9th of June, Osaka, Japan, 9th of June, 2018. This was the 4th and final battle between these two titans of the industry. 1 win each, 1 draw 2. Omega beat an exhausted Okada in the G1 Climax in 2017, which eventually led to this title match exactly 363 days from the 6 1/4 star classic from the previous year's Dominion show. No time limits, 2 out of 3 falls, and 1 definitive winner. The match went nearly 70 minutes. Okada got the first pin within 29 minutes. Omega got the second after 50 minutes. But 17 minutes later, Omega finally accomplished his goal to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship and cement his legacy in not just Japanese wrestling, but world wrestling. No words could really describe the action in a few short paragraphs, and this is why no attempt has been made from myself. But the difference between matches 1 and 2 and the 4th was quite simple. The one-winged angel. Sam, New Japan expert, let's go.
Boy, this one, it was a good match. This was another one where I had...
A good match!
It was, well, okay, understatement. It was an incredible match. It was the 3rd best match of the decade. I actually didn't have it in... I had it 4th, which is still pretty high. The thing that stuck out for me in my memory about this match the most was at the time I had my little cousin. I say little, he's like 20, but he was staying with me in London, and I woke up before him because we'd been out the night before, and I put this match on, or I put this whole show on, and he came in and watched this match with me and then said, "Was that professional wrestling?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Is it all that good?" And I was like, no. But this was another one I had spoiled for me, and still I can remember like seeing the second fall go down and thinking, man, I'm sure Kenny was winning this.
Yeah. Me and two friends watched this match, and boy, we were on the edge of our seats, and we didn't know who would win. I mean, it was fairly obvious, and I think that if we really think about it, that Kenny Omega would actually win this, because there's still no mention of any real mention of All Elite Wrestling at this time, and what his deal with New Japan would eventually be. But even so, like, it was one apiece. Okada held the championship for a record amount of time, like over 20 title defenses, I think, which is unprecedented. So eventually Omega had to win. He was the guy that New Japan wanted to help with the American expansion. So inevitably he was going to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. But that aside, you're still on tenterhooks. I think the key to professional wrestling is to suspend disbelief. Even in the most predictable of outcomes, to suspend disbelief like that is just an amazing accomplishment.
Powerful, yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I mean, it even going into it, people were kind of saying like, it has to be Kenny, right? It has to be Kenny now. What's the point in keeping the belt on Okada? But everyone was still saying, nah, they're going to hold it till the Dome. He's going to beat Kenny now, and then that'll be that. So yeah, for Kenny to win the title here was definitely an extremely big deal, and I was very happy about it at the time.
Yeah. What do you think about this match, Chen? Where would you rate it out of the? I know your Wrestle Kingdom 11 was your top pick out of the 3 matches. Where would you rate this?
This will be
We're not going to count the G1 match, by the way.
this will be the third one.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, because like you said, predictability, and unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but I'm one of those people who listens to backstage news and everything. So I was hearing all this talks about Kenny Omega's contract, the plans for New Japan to expand in the US and in Western markets in general, and it was like. And I remember thinking before I even watched this match, so I did avoid spoilers, but I was thinking, if Kenny loses here, I think it would ruin him, his stock wise and everything. Like, now's the perfect time to capitalize on him. Like and Okada has done everything at this point. Like, obviously I didn't watch New Japan wrestling. I only started watching it for like a couple of months, but when I was watching, like you said, you can go on New Japan's YouTube channel. They got great history by a lot of wrestlers. You hear about what Okada has done since he came from TNA. I was like, yeah, he needs to lose the title and start a fresh story as well.
And what a story that was! That was the beginning of Balloons Okada. His fall from grace. One of my favorite Okada incarnations.
Yeah, but I think we all agree that was the right time as well, because I think if Kenny had won it at Wrestle Kingdom, it would have been too early, and you wouldn't have these great. It wouldn't have put Okada on the map either. Like, you could show like, oh, it's just not lightning in a bottle. These guys have great chemistry, and these two wrestlers are the best 2 wrestlers in the world right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, maybe they were testing the waters Wrestle Kingdom, seeing how well it would respond to a global audience. Maybe I don't know. I think the match itself sold itself more than anything New Japan did promotion wise, or whether they had any actual intention to eventually put the world title on Omega. I don't know, but
if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it this match when Cody came out with the towel, or was it the second one?
I think it was the second one.
Yeah, because then he faced Okada in America, right?
It was the G1 special in like California. That was Okada vs Cody for the World Championship. But yeah, that was a match with the towel.
And you can also say this was the perfect time for Kenny to win it, because this is when the Elite were breaking away from Bullet Club as well. The Elite alone were just getting popular and popular in the wrestling world.
Yeah. It led to the whole firing squad storyline in the G1 that year. That G1 that year was really good. Lots of exciting stuff happened.
I mean, isn't all G1s good though, Sam?
Yeah, true. Yes. But that one especially.
But to chat the Western audience, that was particularly.
Yeah, it was. It had, I think, Hangman Page was in there, as well as Kenny Omega, Michael Elgin.
Cody.
Anyone remember him? Yeah. I think Cody was on the tour, but I don't think he was in the tournament. No, he wasn't. But yeah.
Oh, the tournament, and he wasn't.
Yeah. It also had probably the best Toru Yano match of all time in that G1 versus Kenny Omega. Go and watch it if you want a break from watching. If you want to watch wrestling, but you don't want to actually watch violence, watch Omega versus Yano from the 2018 G1. Anyway, that's nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, one question I have, and this might be the reason why it's not number its legacy for Kenny Omega in the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. It wasn't the best reign to follow up after, that perfect series of matches. Do you think he was a disappointing world champion, Sam?
I think, unfortunately, at that point, the division had started to set in, like Chen said, between the Elite and New Japan as a company. And I refer to the Elite as like the brand rather than as the group of people in wrestling kayfabe, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I also think Kenny himself had started to kind of get a bit frustrated with his situation in New Japan because he wanted to sign a multi-year deal with them and they would only give him yearly contracts. He wanted to sign like a 5-year deal to be basically full-time in New Japan to keep being the cleaner. And they wouldn't give it to him after AJ Styles. Oh no, I think New Japan hasn't really trusted foreigners properly since Brock Lesnar stole the heavyweight championship.
Also, didn't they have a change of ownership at that time as well, New Japan?
Yeah, it got bought out by Bushiroad.
And also, they just put the title on Ken. There was a feeling that they just put the title on Kenny so that way he'll resign a new contract, not go to NXT because they'd lost AJ Styles the previous couple of months ago, basically.
But I mean, a revolutionary way of getting someone to stay in your company is to allow them to have a multi-year contract, which they have repeatedly asked you for. And so I could see why Kenny was probably getting a bit frustrated and maybe not putting his best work in. It's the reason why I didn't have the match he lost to Tanahashi in my list, even though Meltzer rates it really highly.
I rate that match highly. I really enjoyed Tanahashi versus Omega. But you know, I don't watch as much New Japan as you, so you know, so I'm probably ignorant of all the great matches that have happened in New Japan, even in the last 2 years. But I think one thing we can all agree on is this match itself. It was such a sigh of relief when Omega won, and it was a deserved World Heavyweight Championship. It's always great when it feels deserved, even if it's inevitable, which is quite funny with the Thanos entrance that Omega had from like mimicking Infinity War. I absolutely love that. But yeah, this was terrific though. The fact that Okada had to use, I think it was like a bulldog pin to get the first pin, and then Omega hits him with a one-winged angel for the first time round, gets a pin, and then it's just 17 minutes of exhaustion. I remember the spot where they just absolutely collapse with the Rainmaker, both of them, like because there's absolutely no momentum, and because of the lack of power, Omega can't be covered by the Rainmaker. It's just stuff like that. The evolution of moves. It's not just hitting a move for the sake of a move, which even the best wrestlers do. It's ones that's just like, we're so tired, we're selling this as tired. We're not hitting our moves properly because we're tired. We can't execute our moves properly because we're tired. And I think, you know, a lot of matches should really look at that. A lot of wrestlers should really look at and study this match properly and say, how can we sell better than we already do? And even to the best sellers, because, you know, really when you think about it, you should be sloppy in the ring towards the end of the match. You shouldn't have like these defined sequences. And what I love about what I love about pro wrestling is the selling. I don't love flippy stuff. Everyone knows that by now. I'm very old school. Like, you know, I'm all for a bit of character work now and again, but ultimately you should be selling that it's a fight, you know, and this is a world heavyweight championship fight. So it's a combination of that old school mentality with new school ideas. And I think this is what makes it. I mean, I've said this a lot about the matches in this list, and it's just another one where I go, this is absolute wrestling perfection.
Yeah, agreed. It's a lesson to be learned for any trainee wrestler.
Anyone want to add anything else?
No, I think we said all we can about this match.
Yeah.
Or just this trilogy of matches in general.
I think we could do like a whole episode on this trilogy of matches. Sorry, Sam. Quadrology of matches.
For being, we'll say it's like 3.2.
Yeah, it's 3.5.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I mean, the G1 Climax match is actually pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a really good match. It's just not part of the like big event trilogy.
Yeah, you know, it's the one where Omega first won. So yeah, number 2. Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Championship. NXT TakeOver New York, Brooklyn, New York, United States, 5th of April 2019. NXT TakeOver New York really should be about a story of what could have been. The match was going to be set one last time, Johnny Gargano versus Tomasso Ciampa. And then injury struck Ciampa, and one of the greatest stories in WWE history came to an underwhelming conclusion. The next man up was the leader of the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole. A story only 2 weeks in the making. What happened is that we should never have doubted NXT. What happened was the highest rated match in WWE history, 5.5 stars, according to Dave Meltzer. Both men put on a technical clinic, the likes of which we should have always expected from the man known as Wrestling and the only 3-time Ring of Honor World Champion, Adam Cole. Cole got the first fall with the last shot. Gargano got the second with the Gargano escape, and then came the most riveting of conclusions to a 2 out of 3 falls match you'll probably see. Gargano had to overcome the odds of the Undisputed Era and capture his own fairy tale ending. Johnny Wrestling would become the first ever NXT Triple Crown winner, and after 2 years of storytelling, Johnny Gargano became the face of NXT. So who wants to go first on why this deserves, or maybe doesn't deserve, to be number 2 on the list?
First of all, Sam,
Yes.
have you watched this match yet? We did talk about it last week.
Yes, I have watched this match. This is one that I did watch. Mostly I was watching it, and I will say now, I think a lot of the reason this match is at number 2 is because I had friends in the crowd and I wanted to see if I could see them on TV.
Did you? Did you?
No, unfortunately not. No.
No,
I was like, every time it cut to the crowd, I was like, oh, can I see them? Nah.
we were in the top tier, Sam. So
Oh, okay.
we were the side where they film, where they don't film. So there was no chance of us being on camera. Same with Raw after WrestleMania. But not going to lie, biased opinion here. Like, I was in the crowd, obviously. Spoke about it many times. I'm not going to speak about that too much, but this wasn't my number 1 for the record. This is number 2 on my list. But taking that aside, undoubtedly, in my opinion, this match in the history of NXT. I had no excitement for this match. It was spoiled before the match was going to end that Adam Cole was going to win the NXT Championship because it was on promotional stuff everywhere. And
Really?
Yeah. And the fact that Adam Cole replaced Alexa Bliss for the free bit at Access as well, I was like, yeah, he's winning the NXT title. So I was so confident. This is a fun story. I made a bet with my friend, our friend actually, Wes, and that Gargano's not going to win, but if Gargano wins, I'll buy an Undisputed Era t-shirt. If Cole wins, I get a Johnny Gargano t-shirt. And I thought that was the easiest bet I've ever made. And I fucking lost.
So, when you say they had Cole on all the promotional material, do you mean like they literally had him on flyers and shit?
No.
Title?
It was more like press releases. But there's a couple of press releases that went out for like an NXT tour after saying NXT champion Adam Cole. I was like, oh, okay.
See, this is stuff that WWE should do more often. Unless they change the ending like hours before the show, which is also possible. I want to believe this was when their PR team smashed it out of the park and put out misinformation about the match. Purposefully leaked fake stuff.
Like, Adam Cole was the overwhelming, because I always look at betting odds as well, just to spoil things. And Adam Cole was the overwhelming. And also, I mean, I'm like everyone else. We wanted Gargano versus Ciampa, the conclusion to that story. But I think, what was replaced was just absolutely phenomenal. And I don't think, I mean, it was the best, amendment to a card you'll ever see. It was unfortunate, but both men, they are 2 of the best wrestlers in the world, and that's why. It's just a phenomenal match. I've never marked out my entire life. Yeah, I've said a lot. Chen, let's bring you into the conversation here.
I mean, we've talked about this match so many times, but what else is more to say? I mean, like, at that time, yeah, everyone was gutted that, we weren't going to get Ciampa versus Gargano and finish that storyline. But And then Adam Cole stepped in. Yeah, it's like you said, like 2-3 weeks before the Takeover pay-per-view.
Yeah,
And,
it was
you know,
17 days or something like that.
yeah, like, you had the way you market that is basically Mr. NXT versus the new hottest thing in NXT. And, it was great that these guys could go as long as they can. And obviously, it makes sense for Gargano to win. Come on, Brod. Promotional flyers everywhere. Adam Cole. Come on, man. If
Press
anyone has.
releases. I should have
Okay.
really clarified that, but it's press releases.
All right. If anyone was gonna lose, it was gonna be Adam Cole because he would, even if he had lost, he would have still kept be seen as a strong person. This loss wasn't gonna damage him. But if Gargano lost, then you're just basically saying goodbye to the whole Ciampa and Gargano story, basically.
I think you make a fair point. Like, if it was Gargano versus Gargano was going to win the championship, so that's why, like, when the press release was there, I was like, initially I did a double take. I was like, Adam Cole's the NXT title, but I was like, guess it's true. But yeah, PR misdirection. If that was the case, that was a stroke of genius. But that's just a personal story. Like, that affected my experience. But I tell you what, being in the crowd, oh my god, one of the best shows ever, one of the best matches ever. I run out of things to say, to be honest. I just watched this.
It's a very good match, and I say that as someone who doesn't really watch NXT either. Going into it with no build at all actually was probably the right way of experiencing this match, because from what you guys said, it didn't have a great deal of build anyway.
No,
yeah, because the way it was is like, oh, we're not gonna get the conclusion of Ciampa Gargano. All right, I guess we have to settle for Gargano and Adam Cole. Holy shit! This match is bloody amazing. It went from disappointment to excitement, basically.
Oh yeah, because this was when we were unsure about whether Ciampa was ever going to be back wrestling, weren't we?
Yeah,
it was that bad of it's just bad. Yeah, neck injuries, you can't really predict them.
And the way Gargano won, it was like his WrestleMania moment, basically.
That I'll say this about NXT: like every, well, I wouldn't say every, but at Dallas, New Orleans, less so Orlando, but Dallas, New Orleans, New York, every time they've gone out there, they've tried to put like a WrestleMania caliber card, even for NXT. And yeah, and I think it had the most perfect conclusion as well. Ciampa, Gargano reuniting as faces, and Candice LeRae is there as well. Only Johnny's wife, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah, only. Not a great wrestler in own right at all. But yeah, that their embrace at the end, signaled the end of a terrific journey. And I think, as good as their other two matches have been this year in TakeOver 25 and TakeOver Toronto, this match should have just been a one-off. And I think that's the only criticism I have. And it's not the match itself, it's just the impact of the match. I think, yeah, maybe wait a while until Adam Cole becomes NXT champion. I think that's the only thing I could really say, to be honest. As good as the rivalry's been, it's just
has he not actually been NXT champion?
Well, Adam Cole is NXT champion.
Yeah, I thought so. Sorry.
Sorry. What I mean,
this is versus title shot, basically.
Yeah. What I mean is, I would have Johnny Gargano lose to someone. That belt would go to Adam Cole to keep the two apart because the match was so good. That's just personal taste. Like, there's nothing wrong with the Gargano Cole. They're both excellent as well. It's just, and it was a great story. I'm probably not sure what I'm complaining about, but I just love this match so much that I kind of wish it was a one-off. But these two have fantastic chemistry all the way back from Evolve, and you can tell. Does anybody want to say anything more about this match?
No, I'm just glad Sam watched it after recommendations.
Yeah. I always watch the TakeOver on Mania weekend because it's always better than fucking WrestleMania.
Oh, I would say WrestleMania.
Come on, mate.
I would say WrestleMania 33 is more Orlando. We could have a discussion about that another time.
I was going to say, this is an episode for the future, isn't it?
Yeah. Episode for the future. We have many episodes for the future after this.
Stick around, listeners. We got content for days.
Yeah, right now it feels like days. Shut up, Sam. Right, I'm just gonna before we reveal our number one, I'm going to reveal some honorable mentions that came close to making the top 10, but not quite. And these are in alphabetical order, not ranking order, so you can't guess what would have made a top 20, if you will. AJ Styles versus John Cena at SummerSlam 2016. Bayley versus Sasha Banks in a 30-minute Iron Woman match for the NXT Women's title at NXT TakeOver Respect. Bayley versus Sasha Banks at the NXT Women's Championship, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair, triple threat for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania 32. Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins versus John Cena, triple threat for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at Royal Rumble 2015. Cody versus Dustin Rhodes at AEW Double or Nothing. Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus Batista, triple threat for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 30. Will Ospreay versus Jimmy Havoc from Progress Chapter 75. And Will Ospreay versus Ricochet, New Japan Pro Wrestling Best of the Super Juniors 2016. I'm just going to say all those matches are worth watching. So, let's find out what number one is. Number one, CM Punk versus John Cena for the WWE Championship, WWE Money in the Bank 2011 in Chicago, Illinois, the United States, 17th of July, 2011. For all the history and technical achievements the other 10 matches have on this list, nothing quite changed the industry quite like CM Punk versus John Cena. For some historical context, Capital Punishment 2011 saw WWE reach what some term Cena wins lol when John Cena defeated R-Truth in the main event by water being thrown at him and then Cena hitting the attitude adjustment. Around this same time, CM Punk became number one contender and announced he was leaving the company. A week later, the pipe bomb happened, and with that, a new era had started. This match transcends greatness, a storytelling masterpiece which ended the monotony and predictability of the previous 3 years. The least predictable outcome would have actually been a John Cena clean victory and act as nothing would happen. Instead, after 35 minutes of what can be described as a tense and grueling battle, Punk came out victorious in his hometown to the greatest reception in the history of the sport. Del Rio would then fail to cash in after the instructions of John Laurinaitis and Mr. McMahon, and with that, Punk escaped with the WWE Championship and kayfabe left the company. What happened after in terms of story is still debated by many fans, but the summer of Punk changed everything, from the blurring of reality and storylines to the use of social media and promos, to even the Ring of Honor type wrestling style that you see in the current WWE product. It brought mainstream attention to WWE that it hadn't seen from the Attitude Era, and brought some fans back to the product too. And more importantly, if it weren't for this match, would fans have ever found a voice? Unpredictable, wild, shocking, awesome, a blurring of styles from the Attitude Era to the age of social media. This match had everything, and for many, a deserved number one. Guys, that took a lot of effort to write, and I was very tired at midnight, but apart from that, what do you think of our number one pick?
Sorry, I'm just finishing off my WWE ice cream bar. All right.
Where are my ice cream? To put this in context in terms of votes, this was my number one pick. Jason and Chen, you put Chen yourself, you put this at number 2. Mike put this in top 5, and combined, it basically trounced everything else on this list, apart from Gargano versus Cole, which was close to winning. But yeah, this is how popular this match is. So Chen,
So I'll
finish
go.
your ice cream bar.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
That was great. That was great.
So basically, as you know, I've said it before in the pod. Like the rest of you, I also took a break from wrestling. Now, during my time away from wrestling, online, I saw WWE going viral only 3 times. One, that was when The Rock came back to be the host of WrestleMania. And 2, was the pipe bomb, and 3 was Punk winning the title at Money in the Bank and running into the crowd. Side note, another time WWE went viral, but it was by accident. It was when apparently the Undertaker got fire for one of his entrances into the.
Oh, that was like 2 years prior, I think.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. That wasn't like. But yeah. So first of all, I remember just before I left wrestling, CM Punk was this guy in ECW and everything, and like I always thought he had a great future and everything like that, and his mic work and everything was amazing. But something just told me like, he'll never be the guy because even though he's so talented, it's just the way WWE politics work, kind of thing.
Mhm.
He's not Vince's guy. He's not big and muscular, over 6 foot. So when I saw CM Punk going viral and everything, and I didn't straight away watch this match. Like I didn't get back into wrestling straight away. It was round about the road to WrestleMania 29 when I started getting back into wrestling. And this was the first match I saw.
Wow.
And because of this match, I went back and watched all of CM Punk's other great matches, like his I think it was Over the Limit pay-per-view with Daniel Bryan. Correct me if I'm wrong about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. He did. He had a feud with Daniel Bryan. That was pretty cool.
yeah, so when I came back, it was basically I missed the whole pretty much the summer of Punk, but I
Yep.
came back. I watched everything Punk did, and I was keeping my eye on Daniel Bryan because I something just told me like, oh, in WWE, these 2 guys are going to be the next 2 big guys, basically. And
Yeah.
side note, I kind of got a similar feeling with this as when they were pushing Eddie and Benoit to be the main eventers at that time, like 10 years prior.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but seeing this is what WWE needed. They needed someone like CM Punk to make it. They needed them to be bring back the pop culture, make them cross over again, and Punk was that guy. And what was interesting was seeing all the trouble that Punk had with the politics behind backstage and everything. Like, you were wondering why Punk he's putting WWE on the map, and yeah, but there was just a lot of politics going on. And one thing I still don't understand to this day,
Mhm.
and Brod, maybe you can answer this question: was Punk's contract actually running out? Did it
Yeah.
run out that day, and he didn't sign anything?
Okay. So, for context, and this will tie into my own fandom. So really started tuning out halfway through 2009. Like I watched the old pay-per-view. Like I still watched WrestleMania and I watched the Royal Rumble, but that was about it. Like, and then I remember watching WrestleMania 27 and just going, that was a heap of garbage. Fuck this. I'm done. But for some reason, I would stay in tune with it via Bleacher Report because why not? And I was a student and I had nothing to do on Tuesday mornings. So I was like, well, I'm a night owl, so F it. I'll watch Raw, even though it was bad at that time. And, people complain about the wrestling now. Seriously, main roster pay-per-views at this time, before this Money in the Bank pay-per-view, were absolute garbage, with the exception of maybe WrestleMania 26. So, yeah, I remember this just being a big thing. And so I slowly got back into it in a weird way. And I remember the dog crap, that Capital Punishment, but the CM Punk thing intrigued me. And CM Punk was interesting, but he wasn't doing anything at the time. And then it came out that he wasn't re-signing with the company. And I think the actual reality was that his contract was expiring in September, but I think he was just looking for an early way out. But that was the success of this match. It was the blur in reality. He was frustrated creatively. He was frustrated that he wasn't the guy despite doing everything asked. And that 7-minute pipe bomb promo, probably the greatest promo since Austin 316, arguably the equivalent of, if not better than Austin 316, really revealed what he thought. I think a lot of the fan frustration, which was era of John Cena dominance, Not that John Cena was, John Cena deservedly was face of the company, but not to this Hogan-like extent, which was damaging. So yeah, the CM Punk, he brought me back big time into wrestling. He was cool. Like, he was my attitude era of some ways. I know it's PG product, but he didn't give a damn what he said. He could cut lengthier promos better than anyone. Like, out of context, I can understand why people don't like CM Punk if they're new to it. If you weren't around 2011, but this guy shocked the wrestling world without a doubt. And I remember watching this match live on my TV, and I've never been glued to a wrestling match in the same level ever since. There was no doubt in my mind this was going to be my number one. It's not the best technical match. It's a John Cena match. Obviously, it can't be the best technical match on this list. And that's no saying
John Cena's had many great matches, though.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah. John Cena is a wrestler in terms of storytelling. This wasn't like the cleanest wrestling match you ever see, but no one knew what was going to happen. And this era was a definition of predictable. And this was a complete reverse. And it was absolutely amazing to just even see part of this journey. And Summer Punk, disappointment, who cares? This in itself, the greatest match and the greatest pay-per-view of the decade. I don't care what anybody says. Sam, have you watched this match?
So, no, I'm probably not the best person. Well, I think I've got to give my true and honest opinion, and it completely goes against, obviously, everyone else in this pod and most of the people in the wrestling world. Please do not come to the meetup we said earlier and lynch me, but I don't rate CM Punk that highly. To me, the pipe bomb promo just seemed like another WWE guy doing another promo. I wanted it to be this incredible, explosive blurring of reality and fiction and stuff. Okay. But to me, it just seemed like a bloke doing a WWE promo.
So first and foremost, you haven't seen the best match. So when you say you don't like CM Punk, did you watch any of his matches with Jeff Hardy? Any matches?
Yeah, I watched a few of his matches, but to be honest, like, the pipe bomb was built up as this incredible thing so much that when I watched it and then kind of saw that CM Punk was a bit of a gimp, I thought, I don't really care about going and seeing the other matches.
I think the thing is, at the time, like, the reason why it's such a revered promo is because it went viral. Like, this, we weren't sure if it... I mean, you might say it's another WWE promo, and this is where you're completely wrong. And this is where context is important. No one knew that... I remember Twitter, everything exploded, and no one knew whether this guy just took a mic and just went on a 7-minute rant live on television.
On.
No, but
they just cut the mic off if they didn't want him to talk.
Sam, let me finish. And this is a problem. You don't have the context at the time. This is like me criticizing Austin 316. I wasn't there. I don't know the context. I was bloody 4. So, this is a frustrated fan base that were hearing their frustrations for the first. CM Punk, this is the actual story, was told, yeah, you can do a shoot promo. And he did. And they cut it off during an appropriate moment.
Especially when he said this company will be better when Vince is dead. Like, then it'll be run by Triple H, another doofus.
See, that seemed to me like he got that cleared, and then he said a line about wearing panties, and I was like, "Oh, mate, come on."
No, I this is the thing. No one. You could say that because we're now a smart audience and we have
and we had the women's evolution and everything, but you got to think about wrestling at that time.
Yeah,
I guess that wasn't really meant to be like a kind of identity politics criticism of him, if that makes sense. No, like, it's more like it just default WWE. Like,
no, it's definitely not default.
But that was the start of a revolution in the business, because I think NXT was starting to form as well.
NXT was still the reality, but anyway,
it was still the reality. But him and Brian changed the business.
So to say the pipe bomb, I can't accept that. Like, usually I'm very accepting people's opinions, but to say it's another WWE promo, and this is why context is key. And please let me finish, because I'm now actually frustrated. Okay, the reason why context is key here is because whilst you say no, it's just a WWE promo, it's obviously a promo. We're part of a smarter audience. This time in 2011, people weren't as smart. People didn't know whether this was like, holy shit, did he just go off the rails live on air? He's saying everything. Is this a work? Is this a shoot? This was like the first time ever, like, well, not ever, but a long, long time. Not since the days of like Bret Hart's Montreal Screwjob and the shoot crap that they did in Vince Russo's WCW. This is the first time that people were thinking, what just happened? And then everything that followed, yeah, it was storyline. It was storyline.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
everything that followed was the most perfect build to a pay-per-view that deserves all the hype that it gets. And I think its context is everything. You had to be a fan frustrated at the product to really understand the impact of the promo, I believe. To call it an ordinary WWE promo, maybe it's the fact that you got back into wrestling in 2015. And I think that's the case. Or at least I hope so. But to label it as an ordinary WWE promo, it shows a lack of understanding of the context of the situation. And I think that's down to the fact that you weren't there, Sam. And I'm going to be blunt with you.
I mean, that's not really a kind of what's the right word? An incredible revelation. Yeah, I'll happily admit that I didn't watch the show at that time, so going back and watching it, it didn't have the same impact for me. But this is what people say, right? I'm not going to watch fucking 2 years of Raw.
No, but you don't need to.
You don't need to watch 2 years
of
time.
But that was the changing. That was the start of a new revolution in the business and changing of the business.
If it weren't for CM Punk and his vocal frustrations about the type of wrestling that you get, I mean, the style of wrestling changed from that point. Daniel Bryan got the push. Daniel Bryan, it was Wade Barrett and Cody Rhodes that was supposed to win one of the Money in the Bank briefcases that year. It was Daniel Bryan, who wasn't doing anything. It was the start of a change of what you see, this NXT style, some people call it, this NXT era of wrestling. A lot of that hinges on CM Punk, and this, it did bring a new way of storytelling. Whether you love it or not, it changed the game. Unlike the other 10 matches on this list. And that is a difference between CM Punk versus John Cena.
It changed the business.
Exactly.
So okay, fair enough.
Not only that,
it
gave hope. I would say it gave hope for independent wrestlers. Like, wow, maybe they can become main eventers because CM Punk is headlining pay-per-views and becoming champion. Like, because the independent wrestlers at the time, they saw CM Punk and Daniel Bryan as gods because they independent wrestlers, small guys, but they're main eventing the biggest pay-per-views. And I will say this. Some of the match was garbage, but when I came back into wrestling on the road to WrestleMania 29, at that Royal Rumble, it was Rock versus CM Punk. And just seeing the build up to that match, how even Punk held his own promo skills against The Rock. I think even he did better than The Rock. Was great.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, The Rock got owned by John Cena a couple of times as well. Like, it was quite surprising. But, yeah, CM Punk Rock, I mean, that was predictable, but it was a very good build.
Also, Sam, I would also recommend that you watch CM Punk versus Undertaker WrestleMania 29.
Yeah,
well, I know the result of that one already.
Yeah, but you should still watch it. Okay.
Yeah, but what I mean, come on, you knew the result of
Okada and
a few of those New Japan matches.
Yeah, true.
You can't hold one to some standard and say, "Oh, it's fine," and then
okay.
I'll say this: Okada versus Omega as a technical masterpiece is definitely better than CM Punk versus John Cena, but context and the impact of the industry is just phenomenal for this match.
And there's a reason why everyone wanted CM Punk to come either join AEW or just come back to wrestling in general. They're still hoping for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
CM
get that, and I don't understand it either. But like I say, I wasn't around at the time. To me, CM Punk is like Randy Orton. He's like a guy who got really big when I didn't watch wrestling, and lots of people really seem to like him. And I do not know why. I don't get it. I'm not saying that they're on the
You know
same
what the
level.
difference
I'm
between
saying
Randy
they're
Orton and
similar
CM
people
Punk are
in
is
my
that
mind.
Randy Orton had the company behind him and Triple H.
And CM
I
Punk
mean-
actually cared.
I'm sure. Oh, and also both of them have massively overinflated opinions about what they are to business now.
Listen, wrestling podcasts only became popular because of CM Punk as well. I just want to say that.
I don't think that's necessarily true. Wrestling podcasts got popular because wrestling fans, and I say this as a wrestling fan, don't usually know many other wrestling fans, and so when they watch a show, they don't have anyone to talk through it with, and so they listen to podcasts to fill that gap. And I say that as someone who does that. And so that's, I think, why wrestling podcasts are so popular.
It was the first wrestling podcast I listened to was CM Punk's interview.
That's why same. That was the same. Same with me. I was like, what's the podcast?
I was like,
oh,
why is CM Punk? I'm going to listen to this. Oh my shit almighty! This is quite incredible. You know, I still love the story where he tells like him and Vince McMahon pissing themselves over the fact that CM Punk shat himself in the ring. I don't know why that. Look, I like toilet humor. What can I say?
That was funny. The fact that he immediately went on Twitter and was just like, "Yeah, I shat myself on SmackDown." It's kind of funny, but also kind of sad because obviously I have read about wrestling and watched videos about it, and I understand that he was actually really sick when he shat himself, and that was why he shat himself.
Yeah,
it's like funny, but also kind of a bit tragic, and yeah, like you guys were saying, indicative of the situation in the locker room at the time not being great.
And you want to talk about promos? I remember though, this isn't part of WWE's story, but when they were promoting the game 2K13 or whatever, and they had that interview with Jim Ross was interviewing Stone Cold and CM Punk.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite moments as well. And
remember when they kept teasing that match?
Yeah, it was just
damn it.
But even like Punk still had great matches even when he lost the belt. It's just a shame that his streak came to an end because of The Rock and John Cena for WrestleMania 2, the second WrestleMania match. But he had great matches with, for example, with Brock Lesnar. That was a great match.
That SummerSlam match with Brock Lesnar was awesome. Like, you know, those two really wanted to put their all into that match, and they did. And even though it was inevitable Lesnar would win, it just, you know, it's on that same caliber with AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, those sorts of matches.
But even the promos they did during those matches between Punk and Paul Heyman, just to build up.
Yeah.
I even shaved. I remember I shaved my head because CM Punk shaved his head. Like I just remember.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how much I love Punk.
Yeah.
Did you go straight edge?
No.
No.
I think one of the sad parts of the business is as soon as Punk walked out of the business of WWE, we lost Daniel Bryan like 2 months later to injury for like 3 years.
It was a few months later, but no, Daniel Bryan was like, he was elevated to the main event. Obviously, won the title and then concussion issues.
And we've always wondered, like, if Punk had stayed, Daniel Bryan had main evented, like, but you know, either way,
I don't think
he changed the business.
I don't think he would have, because it would have been. I think it would have stayed Batista, Randy. I think it would have been CM Punk, Triple H. I'm not sure who Daniel Bryan would have feuded. I think it might have been Kane. I'm not sure, but yeah, you know, he kind of almost sacrificed himself. Daniel Bryan got elevated because of it in a weird way.
So in a way, he helped push Daniel Bryan to the top.
Yeah, but it's just, you know, they didn't really do anything with him after the Lesnar match.
Yeah.
And I think if they gave him, if it was Rock, Cena, CM Punk at WrestleMania,
that's the main
29,
event that everyone wanted.
Yeah, instead of, I mean, CM Punk Undertaker
was a great match. That was the match of the night. But
But yeah, I mean, such as the impact of this match, we've had a fascinating debate over it, and I think we could go on and on. But the match itself is just a masterstroke of storytelling, and its impact still felt today by many fans. And a lot of people call this the pay-per-view of the decade as well. So for those who haven't seen CM Punk vs. or Money in the Bank 2011, treat yourself, go on the WWE Network or whatever means, and watch this match, because you're guaranteed to love it. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me in this first of I Love the 2010s, and hopefully we won't get into too much infighting after the show. But thank you for joining us, listener, for our Match of the Decade episode 2. Next week, we will be doing a Royal Rumble of the greatest Royal Rumble participants. However, until next time, remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and give us a 5-star review where possible if you enjoyed the show. And also, do not forget to subscribe. And that's the bottom line, because this pod said so.